Now we're going to take a look at Synchronizer blocking ring clearance. We measure blocking ring clearance with standard feeler gauges. The specifications for every gear in this transmission is 31 thousandths. So I've selected a 15 and a 16, which would be my minimum clearance of 31 thousandths. I've also selected a 19. 31 plus 19 is 50. And then I've got a 5, a 10, and a 20 thousandths feeler gauge. So those are going to allow me to measure clearances above and beyond the minimum clearance of 31 thousandths. Now, one thing about the Synchronizer blocking ring clearance is kind of unusual in automotive in that as this surface wears out, this is our wear area of the Synchronizer, whether it's carbon as this one is or all brass as some of the other gears are. As this surface wears out, the clearance between the speed gear and the blocker ring would actually become less. So as it wears, the clearance gets smaller, and that's unusual in automotive. Normally we think of things as they wear out, the clearances would get larger, so the 31 thousandths is a minimum clearance. If I take my 15 and my 16, I put them together, that drops right in. This is my third gear, speed gear and blocking ring, and that drops right in. I obviously have more than 31 thousandths clearance, so I'm above the minimum. I can add my 19 in, and that drops right in. So I'm above 50 thousandths clearance. I add a 5. Now I'm at 55. That drops right in easily. I'm going to measure that in a few areas, but that drops right in easily. Go up to a 60 thousandths clearance, and now I start to feel some drag. And if I add the 5 back in, which would bring me to 65 thousandths, now I actually have to force it in there. So I'm going to say that clearance is between 60 and 65 thousandths, and that's just fine. So that's my third gear blocking ring clearance. Take a look at my fourth gear clearance. There is no actual speed gear for fourth gear, remember. That's just the input shaft of the transmission that we're going to lock to for fourth gear. It is a all brass blocking ring, but it doesn't matter as far as the measurement goes. Again, I'll start with my 31, and it's got well over 31 thousandths, well over 50 thousandths. I can jump up to 20 thousandths. Now I'm at 70 thousandths. Now, I can't get 80 in there, so I'm between 70 and 80. 75, I have some resistance. So I'm going to say about 75 thousandths clearance on my fourth gear blocking ring. Take a look at our fifth gear here. We'll start off with the 31 thousandths. 31 thousandths drops in quite easily. Add in the 19, which would bring me up to 50 thousandths. 50 thousandths drops in. Let's see if I can jump all the way up to 70 thousandths. No, it's less than 70. I'm definitely lifting that ring, so I'm going to take the 20 thousandths back in. We'll try 60 thousandths. Yep, 60 thousandths drops in there. 65. No, with 65 thousandths I'm forcing it. Go back and try 60 again. Actually, I'm lifting that ring a little bit at 60. 55 thousandths. Yep, that feels about right. So I'm going to declare my fifth gear blocking ring clearance at about 55 thousandths. Again, as these blocking rings wear down, whether they're brass or whether they're carbon insert, this surface is what wears away, and that allows that blocking ring to get closer and closer to the speed gear, so we're always looking at a minimum clearance. And then for reverse, I'll start off with my 31 thousandths, which goes in just fine. Add my 19, which brings me to 50. That goes in just fine. Add my 20. That'd bring me up to 70 thousandths. Nope, 70 thousandths is excessive for that one. So let's drop back down. We'll add my 10 in. That's at 60 thousandths. Yep, 60 goes in. And 65 is forcing it. Yep, I can feel it moving and lifting up when I try to go 65. So on my reverse blocking ring clearance, I'm going to go at 60 thousandths. Now I'm going to measure first and second gear. The reason I didn't start with first and second is still assembled on the main shaft until I get into the shop at school and I'm able to disassemble this. Just the same measurement technique, just a little bit more difficult to see with it still assembled on the main shaft. I'm going to start with my 15 and 16 for 31 thousandths, come in here to my first gear blocking ring and obviously have more than 31 thousandths. Add my 19 in to jump up to 50 and I'm over 50 thousandths. I'll add 10 thousandths more, that'll get me to 60. 60 thousandths goes in, but I can feel it start to rub. Add 5 more thousandths. No, at 65 thousandths I'm definitely forcing it. So the clearance on my first gear blocking ring is right about 60 thousandths. I'll flip this over and duplicate that measurement for the second gear blocking ring. Same technique. 15 and 16 equals 31. It's well in excess of 31. 19 thousandths more equals 50. 50 goes in. I'll add 10 more thousandths to get up to 60. I start to feel a little bit of drag at 60 thousandths. And again, 65 thousandths, I have to force it to get my 65 thousandths in. So for both first and second gear, we're between about 60 and 65 thousandths clearance.